right, everyone, welcome in. I am super pumped to have one of my clients, Brock, on the call with me today. He owns Valley Canine Training out in Utah. And Brock, why don't you just kind of kick it off for everyone, man? Tell everyone a little bit about you as a trainer and how you got started.
That's a tough one. I don't know. It kind of just happened. I got really interested in dogs in like 2017, I guess. And then by 2020, I found a trainer. I found seminars. I interned with some trainers and worked for one. And then I was like, I kind of want to do this more on my own. And then it happened.
Is that right? So did you have any training experience prior to that, or did you grow up with just liking the idea of
I just
working
like
with
dogs. Yeah. And then I found a trainer that I liked, and I was like, hey, I want to come learn from you. And I worked for him for a little bit. And then I found other trainers that I learned from, and just got lucky like that.
Very
I guess.
Cool,
so,
yeah. Wait, so you were just kind of you always knew that you liked working with dogs. And then, so around 2017, were you kind of just looking for a new career path, or prior to that, were you thinking about it?
I had a dog. I went to, she was super aggressive. I went to a trainer and it didn't work out. And I was like, I don't want to get rid of my dog or put her down. So I need to figure something else out. And that's when I started looking around, and then I met some cool people. I was like, that's a cool job. How did you get into that? And then it just kind of snowballed. But even till, so I started doing dog training, making money from it in 2020. And then I was still working my day job. So I didn't go full time into dogs until just the beginning of 2022. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And that's around the time that, we got connected.
Yeah.
But very cool, man. And so yeah, I mean, I hear that from a lot of trainers actually, where it's their origin story as a dog trainer is, I had a dog that was aggressive or, exhibiting these behaviors, and I wanted to kind of get to the bottom of it. And then I just kind of fell in love with it from there. So that's cool to hear that that's kind of how it happened for you, because, that's the definition of a blessing in disguise. You can have a dog that's reactive or aggressive, and you're like, man, this is frustrating. But then it ends up, kind of setting you on this course for the rest of your life, and who knows, maybe you wouldn't have fallen into this career otherwise. I mean, that's oddly enough how I ended up doing, working with dog trainers, because I have my dog Sadie. We got her trained. We did a board and train when she was younger. And I had nothing. This was years ago, and I didn't know anything about the dog training industry, and that's kind of how I found out about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely was a blessing in disguise. The dog's trying to eat my friends and family, and then now it's what we do for work. So it's pretty crazy.
So let me ask you this: how did, when you first got started and made the decision that you wanted to start taking on dog training clients, how did you start getting connected with everybody? What were you doing to find clients?
So it kind of just happened as I trained my dog, and then I found some other people, and they were interested in how I did that. And I would just refer them to the trainer that I was working for, and then got started like that. And then it just kind of snowballed into somebody would say something to someone else, they give them my number, and then I'd start working with their dog. So it was just a really slow word of mouth process in the beginning.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so they just kind of kicked off, and what were you charging at the time for your services?
25 an hour.
25 an hour.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I mean, it's cool. It's that's how everyone gets started,
And I was stoked for it, dude. I was like, I'll hang out with your dog and you guys for an hour for $25.
You're going to pay me for this?
Yeah.
Really, that's how I felt too. It's I can't believe someone's actually willing to pay me for doing this for them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And so it just kind of grew through word of mouth, people telling other people about you and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, so you and I got connected online. I sent you a message, and we just kind of struck up a conversation, started talking from there. And man, let me ask you this. What was it for you that kind of made you feel at the time? I remember doing the call with you and Tori. And what was it for you guys that made you feel hey, this is something that we want to do here?
So when we first opened up our own business, we were just doing word of mouth, and we posted in community Facebook pages. And our first month was crazy. It was super busy. It was awesome. And it was just, it died off. So I don't think I made any money in May or June.
Okay.
I don't think I made a cent.
So that was in April that you guys were doing that, a lot of that Facebook marketing?
So like up until, so we started in January of 2022,
Okay.
and like it was just word of mouth until, and it was going all right until like June,
Okay.
May or June, and that's when it like literally just
Yeah.
it died off. And then you messaged me, and I was like, yeah, we don't have anything on Google, so maybe this is a good idea. It was scary to take that first step, but
Yeah, for sure.
definitely, yeah, definitely was worth it.
Yeah, man, for sure. And yeah, I mean, I remember our conversation and, we were talking about this before the call. With all of our clients, we have an intake form. So that way we can kind of reflect on like, what your goals are at the time when you first get started with us
Yeah.
to where you are now. And yeah, I mean, when we first started working together, I think you were making around about 5K a month, right? And your goal was to get up to 10K. So
Yeah.
why don't you just kind of tell everybody right now, it is January 18th, 2023. So how was December for you and how is January looking for you so far?
Yeah. So we just wanted to make like 10K. Even that seemed like a good month.
Yeah.
So end of December, we were over 15, and this month we're at almost 18. So
That's
at
incredible,
least
man.
there's no way that we don't hit 20 by this
Yeah.
month.
Yeah. So, and you said you already have about 8 consults lined up for the remainder of the month, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just for context for everybody, so what are your services that you're offering to everybody right now?
So right now until we get a facility, I can't have board and trains at my home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all just private sessions. So
see, that's unbelievable, man. Doing $18,000 and hopefully, by the end of this month, doing $25,000, all private training. And so I think a lot of times people think like the only way you can hit these upper echelon numbers is by offering, board and trains that are for $4,000 and stuff like that. And you're obviously proof that, that doesn't need to be the case. So
yeah.
I remember when we first started working together, even like doing like writing or kind of constructing programs together, having a call about that. Where are you at right now? Like, what are you consistently selling? Like, what are you seeing people be most interested in with your programs?
So yeah, so like when we first started, that was the biggest thing, was like getting our prices up. And how I kind of do it selling wise is like I started off leash obedience for 2,500, but I'll take like down to 2,000. So I just have that wiggle room for, it depends on the person and what they're doing. So typically we're selling it for like 2,300.
2,300. Okay.
Yeah.
And now, so are you guys doing anything that's like more like basic obedience and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, we do. We do offer basic obedience, but most people want like,
The advanced
they
stuff.
start talking to you about like, I just won't want my dog to pull on a leash. And then it's like, we could do a lot more for your dog than just that. Get them out of your house and like give them the life they deserve.
Yeah.
So like
That's
we end
cool,
up
man.
pushing more people towards that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Let me ask you this. So when you go out and do, so I think to give everyone some context here, I think that I'd love to see if you could kind of provide some value for everybody. So do me a favor, walk us through like the way that you intake a lead all the way through the time that you sell them. Like, how do you handle that entire sales process?
Yeah. So Alfred's helped a ton for sure.
Good.
We get the lead in. I try to like, speed has been like a huge factor. So like answering like last night, I took a call at 10:30. Like always take the call as quick as you can. And if you can't, like get a hold of them as quick as you can.
Yeah.
And then just following up, getting the consultation set has helped, like just getting it as quick as you can. And
how do you go about setting that consultation? Like what is kind of your goal for that first phone call with them?
The first phone call is just get the consultation set. So like they'll ask me what the prices are, and I tell them like, hey, every dog is different. So like we got to meet in person so I can meet your dog and figure out what it's going to cost. And then just getting that consultation set like as soon as like I can get to it. So like trying not to push people back like a week or two. I've had like even times where somebody's called me and I'm in town, I'll just go be like, hey, I can meet up with you right now if you want. And that's helped a ton. Just
no, that's spot on, man. I mean, I think that the advice that you're giving right now is the advice that a lot of dog trainers, need, and may not be the advice like a lot of people want, which is there is no secret sauce to it. It's pretty much like if that phone is ringing, it should get answered. And even if it's at 10:30 at night, like you said, and you're like, I just want to lay on the couch and relax, or I'm getting ready for bed, or whatever it may be. Like just get on the phone with them for 5 minutes, set them up with a consultation. It doesn't need to be a 25-minute long phone call, right? It sounds like you're setting these people pretty quickly.
Yeah. And like, so like, that's like I answer the phone call, and then it's like, hey, we do free consultations to help answer all these questions you have. And then after that, then I'll talk to them for, 5 or 10 minutes and just ask them questions.
Yeah.
But nothing crazy.
So I'd love to kind of like get your feedback on this. So you said something that it hit home with me. I think it's so true. The idea of like, even if they're asking for pricing, just don't give it to them, right? Like there's no advantage to giving them pricing at all. But if people press you a little bit, so your response, it sounds like is just pretty much like, hey, I just need to meet the dog first. Yeah.
That's like what you taught me. Like, hey, just getting like just having a good answer for it, because every dog is different. So I have like a price in my mind, but when I get there, it might be lower, it might be higher, kind of just depends. So it's an honest answer, and it's a
for sure
one that gets you in the door,
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about just getting in front of as many people as possible. So Brock, for you, like what's been the difference when you made the shift from going from trying to sell people on the phone, or, if they're asking about pricing, giving them a price range, to now just, having this system where you're like, I get the phone call, I set the consultation, I do the consultation.
So we get the consultation, and then after that, like I try my hardest to get an answer, so like, even if it's not right then and there, I put in my phone, like, hey, follow up with these guys. So even if they tell me no, then at least I know, hey, I followed up with that lead. I did what I was supposed to.
Yeah.
And because like sometimes people forget, or they're busy and they don't have like time to let you know in the next couple of days. So like just stay consistent, like not being crazy annoying, but like a little bit annoying.
Yeah. You got to be a little bit annoying. Like you got to get an answer from people. The idea of just allowing people to say like, oh, let me think about it and get back to you, giving you a maybe. It's like, I'd rather get a flat out no than have a maybe, right? Because at least then I can move on with my life. But the whole like in between of like, oh, maybe, and let me see if I can get the money by Friday and all that stuff. It's like, to me, it's just occupying space in my brain. And I just want to kind of like either get a yes or a no. And obviously we don't want to come across of telling people like, hey, give me a yes right now. But it's like, follow up with them. Yeah. Ask them, where are you at? And the biggest thing that I found is like, if they really do need time to think about it, saying to them like, okay, well, how much time do you need? Right. And then from there, if they say, I just really need till tomorrow because I need to talk to my wife or my husband tonight. Right. Okay, cool. Is it cool if we set you guys up with a call tomorrow? And that way you can just kind of get back in touch with them, and they know, and they're aware that you're going to be getting back in touch with them. Yep.
And that's like, so I learned it from you guys, like setting up, telling them, hey, it's going to be this price, but if you get back to me within the next 2 days, I'm going to knock off some money. So that way, like you create the urge.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like setting up like a game plan to go with them further in the future. So that way you're getting an answer and you're incentivizing it by giving them a discount. So
and so are you feeling like more confident like with your sales process than you were like even months ago? Do you feel like you're closing more people, or how's it going?
Definitely. Yeah, like before it'd be like I sucked at the consultation part. Like I would just go into their house and be like, I'm Brock, I'm a dog trainer, these are the numbers, bye. So but now like I go in there, I try to, like you were saying, like I try to push the consultation a little longer, just being more personable in the beginning, not talking just about like, these are the numbers, see you later. Getting to know them, getting to know the dog. Like the more information you get in the beginning, like the more you can push the conversation in a direction that's beneficial. So
right, exactly. Yeah, there's the age-old saying, right? People buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So if you go in there, well, first off, if you take it on a really basic level, if you want people to know, like, and trust you, they're not going to know you from just a 5-minute phone call, right? If they just find you off of an ad and they're like, hey, tell me your prices. If you tell them, it's going to be $2,300, like very, very, very rarely is somebody going to hand over their credit card over the phone to somebody that's going to charge it, $2,300. You know, that needs to kind of, that person needs to be nurtured and persuaded and kind of feel like, okay, this is somebody that I can trust. So the way that you're doing that really well is by getting in front of them. And even still, like just going out there isn't enough. Just showing face isn't enough, right? Like you gotta make a connection with them and build a relationship with them in order for them to feel like, hey, this is somebody that I'm going to invest thousands of dollars in.
Yeah, definitely. Like you'll get to some places and you'll tell it, like you'll talk to them, you give them the price and they're like, okay, let's do it. And then some people you gotta talk to them. Like you've helped a lot with like answering their questions and their concerns of like, hey, why is it like this? And you gotta tell, you know, people, I've seen people, their dogs have died from not learning how to be in a crate. They get out of in their house and they eat things they're not supposed to and they die. So like, it's important to get the training done now and save yourself money in the future from like vet bills or things like
so
that.
you'll say stuff like that. You'll make people aware of stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's not like I'm trying to like push them or make them like,
it's not
like
fear mongering. It's just like making them aware.
Because most people, they don't know, like, hey, like my dog ate a sock, haha. And you're like, dude, I've seen dogs pass away from stuff like that. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just little stuff like, oh, my dog is like breaks out of the crate. Isn't it's annoying, but isn't that funny? It's like, not really, because what happens if you can't find your dog? I know. So I think that, you know, making people aware of these things is a very, very powerful thing. It's like, you know, the analogy that what you just said of like, you know, this is an expense or an investment now, but like, think of the expense that you would be saving on later, right? If like, God forbid, something really, really bad happens here. So the biggest thing that I find, it's like people can either be sold on largely one of two things. They're either going to be sold and motivated by like what their goals are or what they really want to be able to do with their dog. And, you know, in the area that you're in, that may be, you know, like, I don't know, like hiking or something like that. Right. And so like people might really want a really well-trained, like off-leash dog to be able to do that. So they don't have to worry about having the dog on the leash the entire time. And they may be motivated by that lifestyle that you can give them. Other people aren't necessarily motivated. They're like homebodies and stuff like that, but they just have a dog that's kind of scaring them and growling at other dogs on walks. So I think you really need to kind of do the consultation, and that way you can figure out which buttons to push on. So you know exactly what to tell them or sell them on, I should say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool, man. And so once you get out to the consultation, so how long are your consults lasting for right now?
So it used to be like before we started, it'd be like 15, maybe 20 minutes. And now they're at least a half hour. I've had like an hour-long consultation before, like a couple of, like, we're pushing more towards that hour-long number. Yeah. So it makes a huge difference. Like,
yeah. And like, so, you know, I know you have like specific numbers or data in front of you, but just like ballpark, like if you do 10 consultations, like how many people would you say are like signing up with you now?
Now, probably like 4 or 5.
Like 4 or 5.
So, yeah.
And that's like a scalable number, right? If you close 50% of people and you know that like, hey, every 10 people I go out to sign up, I'm going to sign up 5 people or 4 on the lower end, right? But even if you just use a $2,000 program, right? Like all you need to make $10,000 is to do 10 consultations in a month, right? You sell 5 people, you make 10K. And when you have like a closing rate like that, like, you know that like, hey, I can just reverse engineer this. Like if I want to make $20,000, I need to do this amount of consultations. If I want to make 30, I need to do this amount, you know? So it's important to kind of have just a general idea. And yeah, man, I take my hat off to you, because I'll never forget, like you came to me one day and you're like, hey, can I set up a call? I just want to like learn a lot more about sales. And I think a lot of times people don't even have necessarily that self-awareness to realize that like, hey, maybe there's things that I could be changing and making better here.
Yeah. Like I knew I sucked at sales, like, and I've gotten a lot better. So that's the cool part. Like
you have, man, it's really awesome to see.
And my lovely wife, like, we'll role play, like, hey, you give me like a concern or whatever, and I'll try and answer it and get better at like answering it. Because that is like when someone hits you with like, you tell them the number and then all of a sudden the room goes quiet and you're like, oh, now what do I do?
Yeah, the price objection. Yeah, how do I handle that? Yeah.
Definitely. So like just knowing what to have an answer on it and like being ready to give an answer has
Yeah.
helped a
How do
ton.
you typically handle that? Like, I know that each one is different. It's kind of phrased differently, but if people like, if they kind of like, you know, are they gasp a little bit when the price comes out? Like, what are you typically doing to handle that?
So like I'll acknowledge it. Like, yeah, that is kind of like a scary number.
Mhm.
But like let's talk about why it is what it is. It is an investment. Like
Yeah.
it is important to get your dog trained because like, vet bills, your dog eats a sock and it gets stuck in the bowels. Like you're looking at thousands at the vet.
Yeah.
So let's like stop that stuff before it's happening. Um, and
That's
like,
beautifully done, man. I mean,
yeah,
I think facing it head on, it's like the elephant in the
yeah,
room. It's a lot of money, right? And just pretending like it's not is not advantageous to anybody. So
no,
I think that facing it head on, making people aware of like, hey, good training isn't cheap.
yeah,
And like this is why, and we're doing this and stuff like that. And then are you offering people like payment plans and stuff like that to break it up right now?
100%. Yeah, like
Yeah.
most people are on payment plans. So like I just talked to him about like, hey, it's just 800 down. It used to be we started at like 500 down,
Mm-hmm.
and we're kind of like finding the number that doesn't like scare people so
Yep.
much.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we're taking like 800 down, and then we're just working with people on getting it before the training's over with. So,
Right. Yeah.
but
No, I think that's very, very smart, man. I mean, here's what my take on all of this is. This is like there was a boom in the dog training industry during, the height of COVID. And, people were at home, people were getting checks in some cases, from the government and stuff like that. And so, some people lost their jobs, obviously, but by and large, I think that people had more time all of a sudden. They had some income, and they had a lot of people were getting dogs, right? And they realized like very quickly, like, oh man, this puppy is annoying the living hell out of me. And
yeah,
so I need help. And so we saw for dog trainers like a big boom during COVID.
hmm
And so now I feel like we're entering a time where the economy is just not quite as strong as it has been in previous years. And so, just playing the numbers game, making things more accessible is really the answer for a lot of people, right?
yeah,
So breaking it up, like statistically speaking, most Americans do not have $1,000 in their checking account that they can just spend right now, right? So if you play the numbers and know that, hey, well, if I have $1,000 deposit and I'm getting a lot of people saying, hey, I just can't afford that. Okay, well, then we need to work on the deposit. And if there's a
hmm
remaining balance of whatever it may be, how can we break that up so that they can actually afford it on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and we can get paid, they can get training, and it works
yeah.
out for everybody.
Just like being reasonable with people and like meeting them where they're at, because like we probably wouldn't have these numbers if I was like, you can't do it all up front. We'll see you later.
Yeah,
So
no, absolutely. I have another client who is, unbelievably successful dog training business. And we were talking one day and he was having a really hard time closing people all of a sudden, right? And he did a ton of consults, and he's a really, really good salesman. And, we were talking about, trying to troubleshoot and figure out why he was getting all of these no's all of a sudden. And then we kind of realized like, well, he was all of a sudden made the shift away from requiring a deposit of like $500 to get started to half the program. And he
yeah,
has programs that in some cases are $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. And it's like, it's not that they don't want to work with you. It's not that these people aren't sold. They want to work with you. They just
yeah,
literally cannot pay you. And you've made it impossible for them to pay you. And so, having just like a deposit of, $500 or $800 even, it's a pretty low barrier to entry. A lot of people can get access to that. And so
yeah.
I think that's a really, really smart idea for anybody who's listening.
Yeah, just getting them in the door and then working with them. Like you were saying, it's not possible. Like people aren't going to be able to pay all that money up front, and
Yeah.
it limits you. So
Yeah. And think
yeah,
about like the long-term or long tail effect that it's going to have on your business. Like
yeah,
if you're the company where you're like willing to work with somebody and you are delivering excellent results for them, that person, you've bent over backwards to make sure that their life is going to be improved by this. And so they're going to want to go out and like sing good praises about your business and tell everybody when they see their dog and being like, oh, your dog's so well, so well behaved, like, how'd you do that? They're going to want to tell everybody that like Brock is like, the go-to solution for this.
yeah. Just meeting people where they're at and like
Yeah.
treating them like how you'd hope you'd get treated. So,
Oh man, I love that,
right.
dude. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I always say to people, man. It's like that's so true. It's like how if you just reverse the roles, like how would I want to be treated in this situation? If I have an
Mhm.
aggressive dog and someone's like, "Oh, yeah, sorry, it's going to be $2,000 to get started. I can't
Yeah.
You'd be like, "Well, I
Good
still
luck.
have an aggressive dog and this sucks. You know, what am I supposed to do here?" You know?
Definitely.
Yeah. So there was another really cool thing that you had mentioned to me. So your lovely wife, Tori, she has a job, right?
Uh-huh.
But so you guys are planning on having her coming into the business full time. Is that right?
Yep. Yep. We're going to
Yeah.
have her start grooming. So offering that as a service too. Cause like, I don't know. So in our area, all the groomers are booked out like 3 months in advance. So
Mhm.
it's definitely like a market that is there to take up, and it
Yeah.
makes sense. She has a background in like cosmetology,
Oh,
and
cool.
so like cutting people's hair, you could cut dog's hair, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. She's gonna kill it, but
That's so cool, man. But how does that
that
feel for
way,
you, dude? Like, I mean, you're like a family man. You're like you're a father,
yeah.
you're a husband, and like, so how does it feel for you to be able to like, have a business now where like your wife doesn't necessarily need to keep the job that she's been doing and now can come like work with you?
So cool. Like
Yeah.
she's stuck with me this will be like our 9-year anniversary coming up next month. So
Yeah.
it's cool to be able to be like, hey, we're going in the right path, and we're doing stuff that is good for our family, and like
Yeah.
we get to be around our kids way more.
Hmm.
So like we both worked at a factory together. So
Hmm.
it's cool to like, instead of working 12-hour shifts 5 or 6 days a week, we're changing it up a lot. So we're more around our family. It's awesome.
It's so cool, man. Yeah. And
So cool.
it's like the money is nice, but at a certain point, like, yeah, money allows you to do these
Yeah.
things. And this is the stuff that's way more gratifying to me. It's like just going from like, 10,000, oh, I made 15,000, now I made 20 and then 25 and so on and so forth. It's like, yes, those are milestones that obviously like you would like to hit as a business owner, but there's nothing like being able to, get like your wife or your husband out of a job that like they don't hate the job by any means, but it's like they're not super passionate about that. And so
Yeah.
I was blessed enough to have that experience recently with my wife, Jamie, and I have quite a few clients who have been able to get their spouse into their business. And the thing that I find so fascinating about it is those tend to be the businesses that explode because
Yeah.
nobody cares about your business like your spouse. Like nobody's going
Absolutely.
to, you're pretty much just like duplicating yourself in your business,
Hmm.
And so, yeah, man, it's like having two people working towards the same common goal it's a really amazing thing.
Yeah. And she's like helped me so much with it. Like she's got a background in sales, and
Yeah.
she's helped me with like the website, and like uh building up like a structure for everything, and like setting up our scheduling stuff.
Yeah.
She's been there through all of it. So it's
Yeah.
good she deserves, she's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, she's been on like a lot of the calls that you and I have had together. She's
Yeah.
been right there asking questions. And
Hmm.
yeah, I love to see that, man.
No, it's
So,
awesome.
so let me ask you this, like right now we're in the new year. And so like, what are your goals for this year? Like, what would you like to see out of your business?
A facility is the next thing, so we can do more of like the boarding and the training side of things.
Very cool.
Just getting bigger, scaling up, I
Yeah.
guess.
Are you looking to hire some more? I know you have
So
another
we
team
have,
member, right?
yeah, I have a guy. He doesn't do a ton for me. Just giving him more hours would be
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
Just keep going along this trajectory, I guess.
Yeah.
That I didn't think we could do that, but we're doing it. So
Yeah, man. Yeah.
like,
Well, I think that's something that's really cool. Is you had actually reached out to me recently and you were like, hey, I want to raise the budget. I want to even go get a little
yeah,
bit more aggressive with the advertising. So, that's the thing that I, love about paid ads, particularly on Google, is that like once you know that you're getting a return on your investment, and say, to use simple numbers, you put $1,000 in and you make $10,000, it's like, okay, well, if that's the kind of consistent return that I'm getting, what happens if I spend $2,000? Could I make 20,000? Right. And so like, that's what allows your business to scale, right? Not just having to rely heavily on like, when is the next word of mouth referral going to come in, right? When's the next
yeah.
person on Facebook going to mention my business? And then I'll get a customer out of it.
Hmm. Exactly. Like it's just getting the lead so you can get in front of people.
Yeah.
Like the more it's just scaling, I guess. So
Yeah.
like you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, like what has your experience been like with the leads that you've been getting like through Google?
Awesome. Like super, like I can't remember, I think it was October, we looked at the numbers. That's the last time I really paid attention to it, but
Yeah.
we got like 30 leads that month. So
yeah,
like it's
and
crazy.
that's more than enough. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like more than enough for you guys to like stay booked out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool,
And
man.
like the last few months it's been, I'm sure, more. So
Yeah.
like I get,
Yeah. And I mean, truth be told, like we're coming through like a more difficult time of the year too for everybody. Like
yeah.
I hear this from a lot of trainers. Like December tends to be a little bit slower, right? Because of like the massive holidays that we have, right?
Mhm.
Christmas and then into the New Year's Eve and the New Year. People are focused on other things, but it's definitely starting to like ramp back up, you know, across the board for a lot of people.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Did
We
you guys
definitely feel
experience
that.
that as well on your end, or were you guys like staying pretty busy through the whole thing?
So these have been like our biggest months. So, and like all of this is new, you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
a new, like getting bigger. So I don't know what necessarily to expect,
Right.
but we're definitely, I don't know. It was our busiest month.
You
So
don't have anything to really
hopefully,
compare it against, right? So like
no.
next year you'll have like a better feel for that. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's awesome. So let me ask you this. I don't want to keep you here all day. I appreciate you taking the time to like sit down and chat with me. But let me ask you this. So like if you could put yourself back into the shoes of somebody like who's they're in the position right now that you were in prior to us like starting this whole process together, what are some of the things that you would recommend to that person? What are some of the things that like you've learned along the way, some lessons, some words of wisdom that you could share with everybody?
Oh man, that's tough. Listen to Kevin is the first thing. Keep it to the point where you're not getting burned out, you know.
Mhm.
And you just gotta you gotta grind at it. But
Yeah.
I've always used you as like a resource. Like, hey, I'm struggling in this section of the business. Like, how do I get better at it?
Yeah.
And that's been like the deciding factor in getting further ahead. So
Yeah. That's great advice, man. And then like, as far as like, you know, I think a lot of times people are like scared to bet on themselves a little bit, where it's like, what if it doesn't work? Type of thing. Like, what are your kind of like feelings on that? Like you don't seem like the type of guy to me where like you were kind of like, is this going to work a little bit? Of course, everyone feels that way, but like you were ready to kind of dive in head first at a certain point. Like what do you think about like the idea of just like investing in yourself and your own business and your future?
it's very scary at first.
Yeah.
So but it's definitely, it's been worth it, you know.
Yeah.
There've been panic attacks along the way, but you gotta just roll with it. Like you gotta invest in yourself if you're passionate about it
Yeah.
and you feel like you belong in this market, like you have something to add to dog training, then you
Yep.
gotta just do it.
Yeah. I love that, man. Cool, dude. Well, listen, is there anything else that you want to talk about today? Anything else you want to touch on for today?
No, just I'm grateful. Thank you for your help. That's
Same here, man.
nothing.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
appreciative
nothing
of your
crazy.
business. And yeah, dude, I mean, like we'll have to do another one of these in the future, because when you think about like what you've accomplished in such a short amount of time, right? With really just, you know, in the grand scheme, like a couple of months, right? When it comes to booking out your business, being able to hire on a new team member, growing a business to 10, 15, $20,000, being able to get your wife out of her job. I mean, this is all pretty impressive stuff, and sometimes stuff that people literally spend a lifetime dreaming about. So I hope, I know that it's very easy to get lost in the weeds and just the day-to-day of running your business, but I hope you take some time to reflect on that, because what you've accomplished here is really like nothing short of like pretty amazing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like, but yeah, it's been cool. Like I'm
Good,
just
man.
super grateful about it.
Yeah, of course, brother. All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you hopping on the call today. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Okay, thanks,
All
man.
right, bro.
Appreciate it. Talk to you later.